Good morning, everyone. How's it all going? This is another Raid Shadow Legends film about whether the game is getting better or not. This is a really multi-dimensional problem, right? There are so many aspects of this game, and different people want improvements in some, but maybe not all aspects, right? So we're going to break this down. We're going to break it down into 5 different segments and talk about the different segments and whether they're getting better or not. Then we'll try to come up with an overall score. Okay, so here we go. The first is important if you spend money in this game. It's not important at all if you don't, which is the value of offers. So if we go to the offers, special offers, for example, we want to know if the offers are getting any significantly better this year compared to, say, more than a year ago. In my opinion, there are more diverse offers, but they're not getting better in value. So I think this is a relatively new. I think it's probably been here for about 6 months, and I think okay, this is like a slightly above average offer, right? Like a lot of people don't buy this, but if you're a whale, you would buy this because it's not a bad one. This is definitely the regular daily offer. This is okay, but when it's on 100% extra, it's really good value. I would buy that as long as I have room, right? So I think these 100% extras are relatively new, and that's a really good thing. I think that started around November, December. But it's only during holiday season or special occasions that they do that. Strings are definitely new. The trick with strings is that they usually put a really good offer at the end, but they hide the ones in between, the middle of the string. So usually you have someone who, like a whale, that discovers, no, not a whale, a string scientist. String scientist, I came up with that. To discover and explore what these data points are and then tell everybody in Discord, and everybody can make an informed decision. Usually strings are not great. Like usually they're not great. Like they try to bait you with the last one, which is like amazing value, but the middle ones are not. And actually, one of the trick problems is that the value calculation for each individual part of a string or any particular offer is usually a percentage value. Like usually it's like 2.0, meaning it's twice as good as some base value, for example, or 1.5, it's 50% better than some base value. But the size of the values are different. So the last one, the final part of the string, may have like 3.0, like 3 times better, right, than base. But it's tiny, right? The size of what you're getting in the last one is usually small. And the ones in the middle are usually big and bad, right? So on average, it's usually a bad offer. So don't be baited by the last string, right? The last string, even if it's really good, is usually tiny. These are just trash. They've been around forever. There's gear offers, unless it's speed gear or savage gear or immunity gear, are completely trash, right? Okay, so in my opinion, most top clans I know, and even other clans, have databases on these kind of offers going back. And from what I've seen, they're definitely not getting better. I don't think they're getting worse. They're getting more inventive in the way they sell things. At one point, they were really inventive. They were selling glyphs, faction war keys, Doomtown keys. I think they stopped doing that now. Actually, we kind of need that, don't we, for some of these advanced missions. Actually, when we actually need it, they've actually stopped doing it. Okay, so I would say out of score, so the way I score this is from -3 to +3. +3 means they've absolutely transformed a particular area. -3 means they've really regressed. And for pack offers, I think 0, bang in the middle. Nothing's really changed. It's more inventive. There's new things to sell, but I don't think anything's really changed. Okay, 0 for value. Okay, the next one is diversity and complexity of the game. Now here what I'm referring to is, do we have more options, more ways we can play the game? So not more content, that's the next section. Content means more things to do, more new things to do. Which is, this is saying for the same thing, are there more ways of doing it? Now, I think they've done really well here. And I'll give you a heads up, I'm going to give them a +2. And why is that? Because there are so many new champions that can do useful things, especially epics, right? If you think about it traditionally, like more than a year ago or a year ago, how many champions did really good defense down? AoE, large defense down. Tyrell, maybe, War Maiden, right? Which is a really, really good one. Right? And then there was also Stag Knight. I mean, remember how excited we were about Stag Knight? Like, Stag Knight was like amazing. Like, this 3-turn when booked, defense down, attack down, was fantastic. You know, unless you got Madame, but even for some speed runs, 3 turns was amazing. Remember, there was a time when people talked about how Stag Knight was not dropping from Sacred Shards. There was a weekend and everyone got really mad at that. Do you think it will happen today? Do you think people will be upset if they don't get Stag Knight from Sacred Shards? Given that we have so many new ones that do defense down, like I think Dirk. Where is he? There he is. So this guy does provoke, attack down, and defense down, right? Awesome graphics. There are now just so many new options, right? There is also, where is this dude? Deacon, right? Deacon also does like extra turn meter boost, turn meter reduction, defense down. Absolutely fantastic, covering spirit and magic and force. So, and a lot of people have Madame now as well. So actually, the diversity of one of the most important abilities, things like defense down, things like attack up. Like if you look at Yoshi, which is a fusion, I mean, this is just amazing skill. Attack up and ACC up, right? And places True Fear. Like 3 of the most important abilities in just one move for a fusion that's openly available. So both legendaries and epics, and I would guess rares, but I just don't know rares very well, are just much more diverse. You have many more options. Previously, you only had 1 or 2 go-to champions, right? And you had to use them. But now you have so much options. And this guy even has an attack, speed aura, right? So it's absolutely fantastic. There is so much diversity. Remember how this very much started in January. Now, I can't remember which rare dwarf it was. Was it Dilgo? Yeah. I mean, he had this 50% chance of placing a 50%... no, it's not this one, sorry. Oh, which one's the increased ACC? Is it Kurzad? Yeah, here we go. Places a 50% increased ACC buff on all allies for 2 turns, then attacks all enemies, right? And then places 30% decreased defense, a minor decreased defense. I mean, this was like the best ability before Yoshi came out. But then Yoshi came out and so many increased ACCs came out, right? If we look at Rule, which I did a video for, he has this as well, like increase ACC, then places Hex, now that works with other people, then places Perfect Veil on himself, increase turn meter by 50%. Champions are definitely getting more abilities that are really useful and mixing them up in interesting ways. Not always meta useful, right? But definitely useful. They might not be the meta combo in Arena, top end Arena right now, but they can be useful for players, right? If you trying to clear waves and you don't have Seer or you don't have Poison Explosion, then these things are useful. So I think champions, especially epics and some of the fusions, give a lot of diversity. And I think that's designed on purpose, right? That's not an accident. Plarium didn't randomly mix abilities together and say, oh yeah, I hope it works out for the best. I think this is by design, and I think it's pretty damn good. So I would give diversity and complexity of doing the same content, but finding new ways to allow players to do it, like +2. I don't want to say +3, because I think there are a few champions they've not been close to replacing. Like, for example, really top-end ones like Duchess. Like, nothing is an equivalent to Duchess. Like Rector is not close. If you think Rector just does like Veil, right? I mean, doing Veil, there are rares that do Veil, right? Like Marshall. Duchess, nothing comes close to that. Like for example, Tronda, nothing comes close to Tronda. Really, not in any of the new epics or new kind of legendaries. And I'm not saying they should, but because there are also really good ones like Under Priest Brogni, right, which is absolutely amazing, and nothing actually comes close to him actually, in what he does. So I think the new champions are amazing. The only reason I didn't give it +3 is that I don't think they cover all the angles. They cover all the buffs and debuffs really well, but they don't cover everything. Okay, so that's the main reason. Okay, so the total score right now is 0 for value, +2 for diversity and complexity. So we're on +2, looking good. Content, new things to do. I think content, this big tower, which can't be called the Void Tower because apparently it has a different name or something, still not out. We have new dungeons to 25, but the drop rates are not as good as some people want, I guess. What do we have? Over the past year, they have Tag Arena, which, apart from the initial competition phase, very few people are excited about. Clan Boss hasn't changed. I don't need to say campaign hasn't changed. Faction Wars hasn't changed. Classic Arena, still the same. Still no new portraits. Doomtown, 2 new bosses, whole new thing. Kind of nice. I think most people do it for the rewards. For the floors, for the rewards. People are still doing it for the fragments, like Gomlog, like Akoth, like Ryan. But I don't think anyone's genuinely excited about them, right? These are champions that, okay, if you're really optimistic, you might say they might have some future use in some future Hydra clan boss or some unknown content in Doom Tower. If you're a cynic, you might say they will try to make them work. They will roll out Doom Tower bosses of a certain affinity that try to allow Gomlock or other ones to have some advantage. If you're really realistic, you say they're just badly designed champions, right? That take 9 months to get, and there's nothing to be excited about. If they happen to fit in, great, somewhere down the line, but chances are I have other champions, many others that can do the equal or better job. So, that's the state of affairs for content. In my honest opinion, there is more content, definitely. There is more content per month now from these kind of fusions than a year ago. I remember a year ago in April, May, June, July of 2020, when even as a mid-game player, I was so bored. Like there was nothing to do. There was no fusion. Fusions were coming every 2 months. There was very little quality of life updates. They were trying to fix a few champions, which was nice, but the fixes weren't always very useful. It wasn't great. So I would say it's +1. But the reason why I don't give it +2 to +3 is because they stopped fixing the old champions. I think so many champions, like, for example, Tila is like a really well-known one. It's just forgotten. Like, they don't want to fix her. They don't want to improve her. There are so many champions, I think, that has a lot of potential. And also, a lot of the new champions roll out, like King Garog, like Nogda, the Headhunter, are just so disappointing. Like, they really hit really weakly. They don't offer much. And I know that what they're trying to do is to avoid the power creep and to keep the pool of champions sufficiently diluted to reflect the RNG nature of the game, right? To make the top champion still rare. But the problem is they're making it even rarer. So the chance of you, let's say a year or year and a half ago, of getting a really good champion, like for example, Trundle is probably 1 in 50. Now it's probably almost 1 in 100 because they've added just like 40 new champions, right? And none of the 40 can replace her. So that's a problem at the very, very top end, right? At the extreme 1 percentile end of champions, it's getting worse. But in terms of like the middle of the pack, it's getting better. There's so much more diversity now. So I think that's good. They're catering for the mass, right? They're catering for the plus or minus 1 standard deviation, right? But not the plus 3 standard deviation, effectively. So I think that's fine. That's what they've chosen as their business model, and it's totally fine. But it doesn't cater for everybody, so I'm going to give it +1. So we're now on +3 in total, right? 0 in value, +2 in diversity and complexity, +1 in terms of content. Now we're going to get into the areas that I think they didn't do so well, which is bugs and general gameplay smoothness. I'm going to give them -2 from my own experience. I think the game now is far less stable and far less enjoyable. What I've noticed is that I play exclusively on a pad, right? And you guys will laugh about this and say, oh, why don't you have a high performance computer to play this on? Well, this is not a game designed for high performance computing, right? Yeah, I happen to run a top 50 world high performance computing cluster, but I'm not going to play Raid Shadow Legends on it, a mobile app game, right? That doesn't make any sense. I'm going to play this on platforms that the genre is designed to be played on, right? Which is mobile phones and pads, right? It's not, I mean, you can play this on a gaming PC or even like a cluster, but why would you need to do that for effectively a mobile game that has just basic graphics, right? So what I found was that my phone and my pad burns up really quickly now. I think this has been happening for about 2 or 3 months, if not a little bit more. We've complained to, through official Discord and mods who've been really helpful. We've shown videos of it lagging. So the typical one, I think, is that when you run, Doom Tower boss. I'm just going to put Doom Tower in the background because I have nothing better to do. It just lags after like several fights, especially for bosses, not for waves, right? I think it's to do with the camera angle or whatever they're doing on the code. I don't know. It's really annoying because I now don't do many overnight runs. I definitely don't use that much energy now. I know they're trying to fix it, but I don't think they have. I certainly don't play on my phone much because my phone just burns up. I don't know why, to be honest, but it's not good. It's not good. Even arena battles on some bad days, 4 or 5 arena battles, and the game is laggy as hell, and the platform burns up. So these are really bad things, right, for mobile games, because people don't want like a phone that's so hot they can't touch, which is actually the case. Like if I put this on my phone, I was doing Fire Night runs. I did about 10 last night, just on my phone because I was using my pad to watch some film, and it just burned up. My phone burned up, and it's not a bad phone. It's an iPhone 11 Pro, right? My iPad is a new iPad Pro, right? So they shouldn't really be burning up, and they were definitely not doing that a year ago. A year ago, I was doing hundreds of spider runs, hundreds of Fire Nights, Dragon, and we were doing Doom Tower a few months ago, 6 months ago. No problems, very cool phone, very smooth, even on the 100th, 200th run. Extremely reliable. So they've obviously done something that they think can improve the graphics of the game. I think obviously they were trying to do something good, but I think they've really messed it up, right? And they know that. Everyone's complaining, right? That especially people that use pads and iOS devices, right? So I think, they really need to get it back to where it was around Christmas, where it was nice and good and smooth. And I have to give them -2. If it was just personal, I would say -3. But I know some people find it okay on their PCs and stuff like that. So I would have to give it -2 because it's really affecting my gameplay. I don't play as much long runs, those auto runs as much as I used to, because simply I know it will burn up my device, the runs will get really slow, and I actually won't do as much, not as I imagined I would, right? So yeah, so that's that. So now we are on a total of +1. So we had 0 for value, 2 for diversity and complexity, 1 for content, -2 for bugs. So we're on +1, right? And the final one I want to talk about, which is timely because let me just finish this wave, is quality of life features. Now, quality of life features are ones that make the gameplay just a bit easier, right? Less buttons to click to get to where you are, sorting things out in ways that are useful to you, right? Because the game has grown tremendously. The number of champions people have, the amount of gear people have, the amount of content people have to click through is huge. And it's just useful to have quick buttons that can get you there, right? And I think they have done a tremendous job in this. I'll give them +2 on this, right? So that gives a total score of +3, which means Plarium and Raid is doing well. Not as well as it can be, because they could have got, +15. So 3 out of 15 isn't great, but, it's not negative, right? So I think there are lots of really good quality of life improvements. What springs to mind? Of course, the recent patch on AI. So if we go to that Doomtown run, for example, you can see it's lagging already, right? It's already lagging. You see? We have team setup. And here we can customize the AI, right? For example, my Prince Kaimar opens with just the A1 so that it doesn't use the A3. And then we also have, for example, Seer not using A2 so that the A1 extra turn can get A3 Karma back up sooner rather than later. And I also use Lix because I think she has great control for smoother auto runs, right? So lots of really cool things, especially useful for Spider as well. Other things include, I think finally in defense, they put your champions in the order of rank. Finally, rather than recent use. I remember I used to have to put my arena champions, use them recently so that they appear first before we do arena reset. And they have better sort options, right? I think there are now new ways to filter and sort by rank, by level, etc., etc. So it's all good. It's all good, I think they now also have this gear filter that allows you to, for example, you have fitting room, you have the way to filter your gear, for example, by type, by stats, by substats. It's fantastic. The only thing they're lacking is to filter them by the value of their substat. Like if you want speed substats, you want to see the ones that have the greatest speed substat rather than click through all of them, right? So I'm going to give it features +1, quality of life features +1. I don't think it's +2 or 3. +2 or 3 would require them to do something like gear optimizer in here, right? Like you want certain stats and you can just equip them. Because using gear optimizer, it's not a great idea. It's third party. So you're effectively giving away your $20,000, $30,000 account to a third party that I don't know if Plarium will approve in the long-term future. So, and then once you optimize that, you have to come back to Raid. You have to write it down. You have to keep it somewhere and then find it all again in here, right? It's way too much work, right? Like you're better off just knowing what your gears are in here and doing it in here, right? So in my opinion, any third party is not good, especially if you pay into this game, right? At best, you save a few seconds, as Deeks said. At worst, you get banned. So, no thank you, no thank you. So, in my opinion, it is definitely not +2 or +3. I mean, also, one of the things I don't particularly like is that they don't have a lot of pre-mates. Team setup, right? I think there's only 10, right? 10 is not enough. in reality. I know you can customize these a little bit, and you just have general templates which you can do some proprietary kind of change, but then the AI messes up, especially for tag, right? So I would wish there was 20. 20 would be enough, right? For PvE, like 10 to cover all the content is not enough. There's more than 10 dungeons and Doomtown scenarios, right? Also, the vault is too small. Like for most people, if they keep one of each epic, their vault will be almost full. There's so many now. If they have lots of dupes, for example, like me, dupe legendaries, their main kind of thing will be full, right? Of course, I can get rid of all the dupe epics and move all of the dupe legendaries into the vault and save up so much space. I can do that. But I don't know if a certain epic might be useful one day, and it's not that easy to get some random epic because the epic pool is so big now. So I think they should just expand the vault, right? If they make the vault much larger, we can all pull shards without having to clear space every now so often, right? Okay, so I think those are the things. I think Raid is getting better, but not much. 3 out of 15 is positive, but it's not. You see the game? Again, this is not... It's just not popping up. I have to click random places, right? So the game is definitely getting worse in terms of its performance. It's laggy. It burns up the devices. And lots of problems like events and tournaments can't be accessed very easily. I'm pretty sure these things didn't exist a year ago. I don't understand why. Because I felt the game was very stable last year. The servers were not. I remember the daily resets. But that's fine. That's not an issue. I'm not on here every day or every hour. I just wish the game was more stable. I wish that they revitalized some of the older champions, expanded the vault. None of these things I think are really ridiculous requirements, right? I just think that there's so many simple things they can do, but yet they're very keen on rolling out things that people don't necessarily want. Like, for example, was this faction really necessary? Like, why spend so many hours in designing 2 or 3 new champions that nobody really wants? Why, like Genzing or Noble, or like who cares? Why not expand the vault, right? Make the vault bigger, right? Do a gear optimizer inside the game, for example. Make more AI pre-mades and get rid of all the bugs. Make the game smoother. Don't let it burn up other people's devices, right? Unless you're in league with Apple to make me buy another new iPad or something. I really don't want to burn up my iPad, right? That's it. So, in summary, game is getting better over the last year, but 3 out of 15 isn't, very inspiring. I wish they don't roll out just randomly new content. I think they should just make the original game smoother, more stable, better. There's enough content, in my opinion, right now. And they're definitely solving bugs, but at a slower rate than they're producing bugs, right? They're producing 2 or 3 bugs every time, and they're solving 1 every time. So at that rate, the game will become more and more buggy. They know that. The mods know that. The community knows that. But it's not heading in the right direction. If it was, they'll do so much better. Over and out.